destroy liberation just have vastly different understandings of what liberation is for.
I haven't seen this much importance and attention.
The story itself is a really wonderful, really great setup.
Tractor beam has been engaged.
Hello, everyone. Welcome to the Tractor Beam Comics Reviews on the Star Wars Underworld Podcast Network. My name is Matthew Neugebauer, coming to you from Underworld North Studio in Toronto, and as always is Chris Abbott down in Underworld, New Jersey. How you doing, Chris?
Hey, I'm doing pretty well. I basically did what you did about 2 weeks ago, and I podcasted by myself for all of 40 minutes. So that was something, or else I was like, I got to taste my own medicine there.
There we go. Also, great to see your computer is nice and running well and functioning, and even though you're leaning down there, whatever. There we go. Is that like a Chiss t-shirt you're wearing there? What's going on?
Yes, it is actually. Speaking of which, I met Timothy Zahn the same night I got this shirt. It was over quick little story here. It was over when New York Comic Con was absolute pinnacle of nerd greatness, because they would have, like, you talk about it being fun now, it was even funner back in 2019. I think I got this shirt. Mm-hmm. They had Star Wars The Old Republic MMORPG. Right. They would throw a party every year. You didn't even have to play the game. As long as you knew where the party was, you could show up and they would get you free drinks all night. You talk to developers. They'd have special guest voice actors show up. They would have photo op opportunities. Mm-hmm. And it was just, it was a great time. They would do it every year for probably 3 or 4 years. And then pandemic hit, and they pretty much just don't do this anymore. They even have done a few at Celebration. But yeah, that year they were doing a big expansion or update where they would go to, it wasn't Scylla, it was Capero, which is actually canon because that was mentioned in one of the Ascendancy books as part of Chiss Space. So yes, they brought on Timothy Zahn, the writers for Old Republic, to bring in his take on like that world that you can go to in the game now, and apparently you can get your own home base on there now and stuff, your own little house. But anyway, yeah, this is the Chiss Ascendancy shirt here. Love it. And speaking of Old Republic, that's what I'm going to be doing tonight when we get off this podcast. I'm going to be jumping in. There's the 7.5 update where we go back to Nal Hutta, and they've done a great job of basically upgrading the game slowly, because the game's like over a decade old. So some of the stuff that came out in 2012 looks a little dated. So now Hutta is getting a facelift. So it's going to appear even more stinky and humid on new hardware. As such, and even this funny thing that they have coming in the game is there's a Mandalorian. It's like a Mandalorian, basically a pet thing. It's called a basilisk, and it looks like a little dog with like guns on its head. Instead of a head, it's like guns, like a rotary cannon instead of a head, and it's like a bipedal thing or 4-legged thing. And yeah, apparently that's coming to the game today. So
familiar. Well, your basilisk is
a basilisk is the 4-armed person that is the alien species. This must be a basilisk, not a basilisk. Okay. Yeah, there's so many Star Wars names out there now that we're going by single changes in letters at this point to distinguish things. So,
in European bestiaries and legends, a basilisk was a legendary reptile reputed to be a serpent king. This is from Wikipedia. Real world thing. Anyway, yeah.
So yeah, that's all I have to say about that. I know going on a tangent with games.
The perseverance of a legend story on Monday night, Joel and I did 10 years of canon, and perseverance of a legend story that keeps getting updated, keeps growing.
This is what happens when something keeps making money. That's the exception.
Legends was still making money.
Yeah, but I mean, yeah, when it comes to games though, like games, like this game has like cartel market. It's all the microtransactions, and they already inputted a way to make money right off the rip with today's update, because they just put in Acolyte tie-in cosmetics. Yeah. So it's like, dude, you could buy the set of robes that look exactly like Maze with like the mask and the hood.
There's microtransactions and pay to play stuff, and people aren't up in arms about it.
Oh no, not at all, because they do it right. There is no power. It's all like, oh, I can change the way I look,
All
but
cosmetic
it
stuff.
doesn't actually make my guy more powerful.
Okay.
And that's how you do it.
Yeah.
And hopefully that's how Star Wars Hunters does it on Tuesday. I'm very much looking forward to playing that on Tuesday, a game that anybody can play because it's being able to play it on any phone.
Right.
So if you got a smartphone, you can play a Star Wars game. Look at that.
There we go. I should try it for 5 minutes and get bored of it.
Yeah.
anyways, comic books. Anyway, on the Tractor Room Comics Reviews, it is Wednesday 20. Sorry, what words am I saying? Wednesday, May 29th, 2024. It's the 21st week of comics in 2024, and we got 4 books, all of them, and I counted them up. I figured it out, and I was right. 4 books, all of them set before the Phantom Menace. 2 of them are set 200 years before the Phantom Menace, but that's got to be a first to have this many books, all of them set in the glorious prequelist time of the late Republic or the High Republic or the late Republic, where the Jedi going around. So really fascinating, really interesting stuff. We'll get into the ones in late Republic, not too involved with Jedi, but that's okay. Anyway, let's get these plugs out of the way. Speaking of where we can find your YouTube videos, youtube.com/StarRaptor. You can check out your Outer Rim transmissions. You're going solo there, and at StarRaptor, StarRapter, and Iron Cannon Pod, EYEONCANONPOD. And again, Joel and I here on this channel went about an hour and a half just talking about 10 years of canon, and so it was good. So yeah, check that out. So we'll get to those, pick those up again at the end as we usually do, but we gotta dive in because we got 4 books to talk about. So let's talk about them right now. First up, High Republic Adventures Saber for Hire #2, written by Kevin Scott, art and cover by Rachel Stott, colors by Nicola Rigi. The Nihil are kidnapping children with force abilities. Can Ty York, former Jedi turned monster hunter, find them before it's too late? And what will Ty's frustrated apprentice do when he discovers that the villainous space pirates are also targeting the son of the Republic Chancellor? Plus, Ty has an encounter that will change her life forever. I'm gonna switch it up. I'm gonna put you on the spot there, Chris. What are your thoughts on this book?
Yeah, I liked it. I think it's making me enjoy the character of Ty York a little bit more. Because I'm not the only one out there. I've heard the sentiments. Ty York is a character that I think a lot of us just can't find ourselves getting attached to. She's just very steely, very cold, not very likable, right? Like there's no really she left the order. She's just going around making money as a mercenary. It's like there's not a lot of things that gravitate toward this character as you would say, like maybe an Elzar Mann or Stellan Gios or Vernestra route, right? It's just she's not on that level. But I feel like this story is putting her on a trajectory to be much more likable. And that's what I've seen from this issue is she is caring about people now. We're seeing her as monster hunter, and she gets pulled away to fight the denial because she's saving innocent lives. And that is the heart of a Jedi, is to protect the innocent. And now she's not even doing it for money. And that's where it really hit with me. And I think even somebody else in the comic book said something or other, or she would be like, oh, the droid is not going to be happy about this. The droid is not going to be happy that I'm not getting recompense for helping these people put my life at risk. And then another thing that really stuck out to me, for the first time after like 6 issues of this character, is I can finally remember this character's name of Druin. He's actually making
right now.
and he's actually making enough of an impression for me to memorize his name. So Kevin Scott is finally kind of getting me to really like these characters, which it's been a little bit longer than it should have taken, I think. But even him having a heart, even him saying, oh, if I go after Kit and John and rescue them, they could put me in the good graces of Ty and the Republic and everybody else. And I think this book needed to have a vantage point of Kip and John, especially when you only have 4 issues and they're like 4 months of story and you're not having them for an entire issue. I think that's going to hurt the story a little bit. Is when I don't know if they could have done something about the editing and maybe put a page or something of them in there somehow, but I would have liked to see more of them. But other than that, I thought it was a pretty good issue.
I mean, they get a mention at least, and there's a reminder that they're out there. Yeah, I do see what you're saying there. This book, it definitely turned a corner, which is, it's odd that it's taken all the way until issue number 2 of what's really the third book that these characters have had. Remember, she was the framing device in the Phase 2 story, oddly enough, and so yeah, I can see that she definitely was a one note character. She was this, I'm not going to be with the Jedi, I'm on my own, and maybe in the context of the rest of the High Republic, it's kind of with this kind of just this relief of saying we're not going to have her development just yet because everyone else is changing so rapidly. But yeah, the I think the impact of the Stonewall, the Nihil going about their business and taking over these planets and clearly having a vendetta against Jedi. Yeah, and then the flashbacks is really what does it. Seeing her connection to her master, I forget what species that is, with the weird, the 6 eye bugly eyes, and then she sees a youngling that's the same species, and instantly that comes back. Really, yeah, like you said, the legacy of the Jedi, but also tapping into these earlier memories that that these colder characters try and forget, try and stuff down, thinking about whenever Anakin or Vader has a flashback to little Annie, there's this moment of, oh, his humanity, or even to Padme. It's a similar type of thing where I mean, I almost wonder if it's something about the Force calling them back to themselves to some extent. And yeah, definitely, again, like you're saying, the tide is turning, and this was a very transitional issue for her overall arc. Yeah, Druin also, I should say, Druin, for the longest time, he's this lackey who's just tagging along. And now, I mean, the way Rachel Stott has drawn his eyes, just being all very anger and rageful.
Yep.
It's just frustrated, and I'm gonna go and do my own thing because Ty, it's not that he's necessarily against rescuing younglings, but he just wants to get in the action. He's just stayed put, and Ty just doesn't trust him. And obviously, maybe, well, we'll see how trustworthy he actually is. But yeah, it was also another great Hinge character moment to say, forget this, I'm going to go off and do my own thing. And for the sake of getting name and reputation for the business, wants to have the Rancor rider to evoke this, it's branding and marketing for their business of taking care of business, of being a Saber for hire, and mercenaries who can go on rescue missions or whatnot, whatever. He's starting to have that initiative in mind, but I'm worried that it's taking him into a dark place. And so that might be a confrontation brewing, not just because Ty needs the ship, but because she's on her way back towards the light. Is he moving towards the darkness somehow, finally stepping out of the shadow, but in a way that isn't constructive? So a lot of good character moments. I don't. Yeah, again, who knows what else to say about this? Again, the Republic Chancellor and his boyfriend, his son and his boyfriend are really almost the emotional core. And we got a few glimpses on them. I think they're going to be the emotional core ultimately of this book. We'll see. It's only issue number 2, but it's issue number 2 of 4. You're saying, right? So
That's the thing. Yeah.
So they were halfway through. That's true. If we're longer, it would be okay if they weren't so much in this issue. But if issues 2, 3, and 4 are solely focused on that, then I think that'll compensate for it. But we'll have to see. I don't know if you have any further thoughts. There we go. All right. Well, in that case, we can move right along to staying in High Republic Adventures. Sorry. High Republic Adventures number 6, written by Daniel Jose Older, art by Harvey Tolibau and LeBeau Underwood, colors by Michael Attier, and cover again by Harvey and Kevin Tolibau. On the edge of the Occlusion Zone, a Republic outpost on Ariadu is a safe place for a reunion of allies. After a year of hoping, searching, and daring rescues, Zine, Lula, and more friends have made their way to this new home. Reunited, it's time to face their destiny and stand together against the fearsome onslaught of the Nile from beyond the storm wall. What new challenges await our heroes on the next leg of their journey? Gotta say, DJO and co have done a really fantastic job continuing to focus squarely on Lula and continuing to say this is the main character of this comic book, which is rare for High Republic, I think, to have such a clear main character. I know, yeah. I mean, I'm trying to think of other stories. I guess Vern in some of the novels, Out of the Shadows, maybe. But yeah, to have one very clear main character and that everyone else is supporting. She's the one, this calm before the storm. And so we have this kind of narrated interlude of Lula reflecting on the past lives that she's led, reflecting on her time as a Padawan, a youngling and a Padawan, and then this warrior when her the fall of Starlight, we see the husks of Starlight on Irem there, and her memory is lost, and she's going off on this tangent. Her whole journey of coming back to herself as someone who's now left the Order, and that's the big move here, is this aftermath of that decision. And was it Comac, not Comac, her master.
Oh, that. What the heck is their name?
We'll get to them, but in Daniel Jose Older's Midnight Horizon, there's that interlude where they've left the Order as a Padawan to go and explore a love interest, literally a circus performer guy, whatever, and they come back when they encounter Lula on Naboo, and the really tying, DJO, Midnight Horizon, DJO tying everything together, saying, okay, this is different though. Lula has now found herself in a more integrated way that brings in this period, this year where she was this warrior who was independent of the Jedi. She had this taste subconsciously, not having a frame of reference because she forgot it, but subconsciously of what life would be like outside the Order. And yeah, we see that come to fruit. They're playing this sport. They're gonna clean the floor with Team Blue here, and that kind of reminded me of the race on Starlight Beacon with buckets of blood and all that. But yeah, her choice then to take the initiative, this Nihil, right? Well, the ship that they grew up on, this school ship they grew up on, is being overtaken by the Nihil and overrun. Starts to actually invade. It's with the prison warden and Drigget Parse. They're there, and she takes the initiative, and her and Zine go and try and take on that ship. And yeah, we can criticize the fact that they don't succeed. The ship runs away, but I really like how they explain it. One of the characters asks, "What was the point of this?"
Yeah. That was my question.
So, but they explain it: psychological warfare. That Lula being free of being part of the Jedi, but also allied with the Jedi still, can actually start taking the fight to the Nile and start actually beating them at their own game, hopefully with more moral clarity, but able to not be intimidated by them and able to confront them, because I mean that's the thing, the mind game is always there, and so it's a sign that her own mental strength has returned and probably bolstered because she's just a more integrated self now. And yeah, it's in using this invasion on the planet from the ship to Ariadu to underlie that point. And so yeah, and it's slightly of a transitional moment. It really does feel like the first issue of an arc, of the second arc, but it's a great first issue of an arc to say, here's enough story. That's another reason why the attack on the ship doesn't succeed. It's the first issue. They're just starting off here. There's a bigger play that will carry us through. One thing, actually, when Dom was reading this last night, I was reading this morning or whenever it was.
Oh, we just let the cat out of the bag there.
When Dom was reading, he read it and he was all, he knows something, huh? Think about timelines. The fact that there's Drigget there, and then the Stormwall moves.
Yeah.
And this thing of this is still set before the events of Eye of Darkness,
or wait, what's
Darkness?
Man, we're both losing our memory with the High Republic. I don't know what's going on because now I'm trying to think of what the most recent book was.
So there's
the young adult book.
Defy the Storm. There's also
there we go.
Escape from Valo. So this is set after Escape from Valo because Drigget's there, right?
Mm-hmm.
But all of that has to have been set before or during
Defy the Storm.
Darkness.
Oh yeah,
because that's when the Stormwall moves.
Yeah.
So that's interesting revelation to situate us now when things are.
And it was interesting because they said, okay, the Nihil have been around for 2 years.
Mm-hmm.
Lula has said she's now 18.
Mm-hmm.
So we're getting a lot of concrete dates, which I like.
Yeah.
I like to keep it in my head, like, okay, how old somebody is and where they are in the timeline. So
also what that does is to give us I talk about the future a lot. I talk about speculation a lot, but here I go again. It gives us a clue to say, okay, this is going to maybe culminate in what happens in even in with Bell's attack on the Stormwall and the failed attack on Bell and Elzar's failed attack on the Stormwall. Of course, the Temptations of the Force comes out next week, so that'll push the story even further. But that's again, that's the thing about the comics. I was also commenting on. The thing about the comics is that because of the release order and the way they're written and drawn, the way they come together, that they're always kind of out of sync a little bit with the rest of the story. So that's fine. I mean, you can tell more story in one little chunk of a novel than you can in a comic book that comes out, 20-something page comic book that comes out every month. So that's just the way it is. They knew that. They're playing to that. Yeah, it's Star Wars, right? We like to fill in. We like to jump around. We're going to be jumping around to a few years before Phantom Menace, filling in different parts of backstory. I know I watched Phantom Menace a month ago. It's fine. We're used to that kind of thing with Star Wars. So, anyways, I've spoken a lot on this book. What did you think of High Republic Adventures number 6?
Yeah, so whereas this felt like a beginning of an arc for you, I feel like this is more of an interlude for me. And even just looking at the title, like literally the calm before the storm, that puts off the radar for me. Like this is that interstitial space between maybe 2 arcs or something like that. Although I'm not sure if we even have a confirmation on how many issues this whole run is going to be. I mean, this is issue 6. I'm assuming 10. So if that is the case, then maybe this is the first of the new arc. But it felt like not as much happened in this one, which is why I'm saying that. Like it was like this moment of reprieve where it was like, okay, you guys can just hang out and play grab ball or whatever it was they were doing. But it was still effective with Lula's perspective because we've been getting Zine Morales' perspective, I think the first 5 issues for the most part. So maybe this next arc is all from Lula's perspective, and I find that cool, juxtaposing the two, but then having her acknowledging like her different ways of life, where she was the youngling, then she was the Padawan, then she was the warrior, then she, I like seeing all that. And the goodbyes, her coming to grips, we've seen the last issue of saying, I'm not going to be a Jedi. I'm not going to be part of the Order anymore. And being pretty final with it, with going and saying goodbye. And for some people, it's harder than others, like when she was referencing Farzala and Court. But the fact is, like, she's not going to really just completely be away. That's where she is now. Like, she's just hanging out with them, even though she's not really going to be part of them. But it gives her liberty to do other things. But yeah, I mean, I thought it was just head-scratching moment. Again, going to the ship. Why would they be so stupid of attacking the Republic Defense Coalition base?
Yeah.
Like, those guys have freaking everything they could think of. Vectors, long ships, or long beam, whatever they're called. All that stuff there. What is one ship going to do? The only thing I can think of is like maybe it's just they're scouting out the place.
Yeah, maybe.
But that general is also incredibly. The warden is so stupid. Like he is the epitome of like the mustache twirling villain if I've ever seen one.
I was gonna say that. Yeah, that's a good point. I hadn't thought of that. Like, why did they bother attacking that base? You know, I mean, the Nihil, they do what they want.
Yep.
But it also, that could have been the plan, just as a parting shot to say, look, we have your ship that you grew up on.
Yeah.
Is that part of it too? And then they always planned was to get out, because it is like Drigget says, it isn't very well armed. It is a scientific vessel or academic vessel.
Mhm.
Whatever. So yeah, I don't know. That's a good point. I guess we'll only know where this sits in the overall comic when the comic's over. I get vibes that it's that there's going to follow up on what happened in this one, but yeah, we could be wrong. It could be
Yeah.
off to something else. You're all right that the first arc was definitely from Zine's perspective, because Lula was like, it's Zine finding Lula on that planet, and the mask, and then Zine rehabilitating Lula in her mind, and so yeah, it's good timing then to really bookend this, though, and that's where my impression comes from, that this is Lula's the main character of this, and I don't think you necessarily disagree. Maybe you do. I don't know, but that the phase 1 book, she was a huge focus in it, and then this is bookended. Maybe it's that they were focused together. Lula and Zine were the focus together in that book, and then like at the same time, and then in the phase 3, it's Zine's the focus for the first half, and then Lula's the focus for the second half. Co-protagonists. I'm curious to what DJ would say about that. I should tweet at him. See what happens. There we go. Anyways, any more to say about this one? Notice? Okay. Fun times. Let's move right along. I'm going to continue to mix it up. I'll throw myself again with this one. Darth Maul, Black, White, and Red. Written by Mark Russell, art by Carlos Nieto, and cover by Tyler Kirkham. First off, hold that cover. Put that cover back. No, put that cover back up. That cover slaps. I don't think I have to acknowledge covers and just look at it. That's already one of my favorite direct edition covers.
It's interesting seeing the white instead of the black on his outfit there.
I just realized that's what's so weird about it.
It's almost like a concept design of Maul, I would imagine, or something.
It's just so stark. So anyway, mayhem at the Moonbender colony. Who are the remainders, and what threat are they to Lord Palpatine? Darth Maul is sent to conquer a mining colony single-handed, but the unexpected opposition becomes an intense battle of life and death. One of Star Wars' most famous villains learns one of his most valuable lessons. This one, I'll say, first off, I really like the concept of the remainders. Really, and the way that Doctor character draws you in his description of their story, of who they are, and how they're working to pay off a debt to society, pay off a debt to themselves and their own conscience. Remember, this is still the Republic. This is still trying to be some semblance of democracy, and so some semblance of restorative justice somehow. Even though at this point in time, the Sith Lord is calling a lot of shots. He's probably still a senator, but calling lots of shots still. And yeah, you really feel for these characters. You really feel the desperation as Maul comes and takes him out. And does his thing.
Yep.
A la Vader in Rogue One. Goes through a hallway and is undaunted. That reference there. And then yeah, I guess I don't have too much to say about this one other than the visual. So the visual, some of the best, when Maul is running and jumping and attacking, that I really felt. That felt like an animated, like I was watching a TV show. Whoosh. That being said, I'm not too convinced about it being a black, white, red book. I think the black, I could just comment on this, and that's the thing, is this series draws attention to the use of color, and that's kind of the point, and part of the point of it is to draw attention to the use of color. So there isn't a color artist credit, it's just Carlos Nieto as like the artist, and that's fun. That's interesting. I thought with the Vader one, and I haven't read the Wolverine one or the Wanda Maximoff, that one should be amazing. I think there's a Deadpool one too, but the Black White Blood and those ones. This one, the Vader really use it to push the envelope in style a lot more. This one, like the red especially made it feel feeble. I mean, I think they use it to make the association of how like the Republic consular ships and consular vessels, and you have red that signifies kind of just some special protection, or the Coruscant Guard or whatever. Here it's nice. It's too nice, I think. Maybe because I just love red and white because I'm Canadian. I don't know. But also, so that I wanted to see more use of it as the color of blood, as the color of suffering, and it wasn't really used that way in this way. The black, on the other hand, so the contrast, and maybe this is why they did. There's just a lot of white and red.
Mm-hmm.
So when Maul comes as the black shadow, the specter, that you really feel, that you really see, and so just the use of black in this really effective. Yeah, not just his cloak. Yes, his cloak primarily, but also the lighting around him. It just cuts out, and you really feel the doom and the gloom of these characters that they're facing. And you know how this is going to go, and I don't mind that. I'm happy to, not happy to, but you can predict it. You know what's going to go. Like I said, the way these characters are built up, kind of similar to issue number 1, and similar to even the Vader through story, where you kind of cheer for Silo's son there for a little bit, sort of. And this one, you're cheering for these Rangers. They really do
Yep.
themselves. But yeah, Maul coming in there. He's still just this Padawan apprentice. If Plagueis is alive, he's an acolyte. Who knows what? He's still more than capable of taking out this whole colony. And to see just the darkness consuming him, I am wondering if there is a bit of a through line. That younger character at the end who gets treated by the doctor, she escapes. Is she going to show up in issue number 3? I don't know. So, yeah. This is Black Red and Red number 2. I forgot to even mention that in this thing. That's okay. Yeah. So anyway, sorry. Do you have any thoughts on this issue?
Oh, I have many thoughts on this issue. Thanks for asking. Because whereas you might not have as many thoughts about the story, I think what really made the story work for me is everything outside of Maul.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
I loved what storytelling. Let's see, Mark Russell. I think that's the first time Star Wars writer. Same thing with Carlos Nieto. I think this is like the first time either of them have done Star Wars canon, at least from what I can recall. I think Mark did a great job of just building up the backstory of these guys called the Remainders. And it's worth noting this is a $5.99 issue, so it's an oversized issue. We get some more pages, more substance out of this one than a normal weekly comic. And I could see where that really paid off because the Moonbender colony was fleshed out so well. I like the idea that you have these mercenaries that are the best of the best, and they are going around and they were doing all their business, and they finally gotten to the point in their lives where they're like, let's just settle down. Let's just live out our lives, the money we've made, just settle down and just start our own little colony. And you don't really get to see stuff like that a lot with these criminals, these military guys, right? They usually go out with a blaze of glory. I mean, these guys do, but at least like these guys are able, and girls are able to just settle down and actually have sort of like a retirement. So I like to see that being acknowledged of like, and it was a cool system that they had made because it was like everybody had their own little job, but they were still always well trained. As we see it in here, they were able to respond. But like the one guy, especially the narrator for most of this, his name is Korbic. I like his perspective of like, hey, I'm not even trained to be a doctor, but man, nobody else decided they wanted to be. So I feel like I had to be the doctor of this group.
Only one there.
Yeah, and it was just like cool because then you got the guy that's like the lawman, and they're going over arguments of different squabbles that are happening between the colonists and the other guys, security guys. So I really like this, the hierarchy and the kind of systems of classes or whatever that they had within this sector. But And it made it all the worse for me when Maul just comes in there and slaughters them. Like, these poor people, they finally got out of line of fire, and you have this jerk off that just comes in
Yeah.
and just kills them for literally no other reason than Palpatine saying, "Oh, I just wanted you to get trained today." It's like, and you just killed these guys. It's like, oh man, it makes you hate Maul. It makes you hate Palpatine even more.
It's a very Sith thing.
Yeah.
It makes sense. If it's a Nihil thing, I don't know. If it's a a Nihil thing or a Jedi thing, but no, it's a very Sith thing to do. Right? Yeah. So, yeah. I mean, just say I enjoyed the story. Don't get me wrong. I thought it was really effective, especially with these remainders and this Doctor character as the target for Maul that you want to feel for these characters, so you feel just how formidable Maul is,
Yeah.
even at this time, which we don't always feel like he is. I mean, that earlier comic, the Darth Maul comic, he isn't necessarily. In the Phantom Menace, yeah, he is. Although he's able to be bested by Obi-Wan, but yeah, I definitely get that. I just don't think the whole black, white, red thing quite worked. Is all I'm saying.
Oh, okay.
Like it
Yeah,
could
see,
have
I
made
was
it better if it
so
was just a regular comic. But,
yeah, well, for a story that I expected to be a lot more focused on artwork than words, I
mhm,
guess I didn't look close enough at the artwork because I was so drawn in by the context
mhm,
about the fear,
yeah,
about the trepidation and the suspense and the overall plot and the characters that are putting their lives on the line and they're like, it was great narration. I really hope that this Mark is able to do more work with Star Wars because I feel like a lot of times, like when they have stuff like this or from a certain point of view, a lot of these things are kind of a way to get those people into the door,
yeah,
like new artists, new writers. Like, okay, this story resonated with a lot of people. How about you write more? Like, I could see that happening for something like this, where it's like
yeah.
he did so much groundwork with building up this moonbender colony and just making you feel something, at least making me feel like, oh man, I feel bad for those guys. Like, poor sons of guns, man.
We almost
Uh,
want a prequel. I mean, we don't usually say that. We're like usually satisfied with backstory. But I mean, it's Star Wars, so we never are. But I'm wearing this T-shirt, being like this kind of prequel to New Hope and all that. But yeah, it makes me want to know, how did they all end up here? What's their stories? And
yeah, and
an interesting set of one shots.
yeah, I mean, even like anything else, like you could go ahead and you could put these guys in another prequel comic. And then it's like, oh yeah, I remember these guys. They were the best of the best mercenaries working, and then they got killed by him, by Maul. So you could thread them into other stories for sure.
Yeah.
And I think that's what's great is like we mentioned that every one of these comics we'll be talking about Jango Fett in a few moments, but
Mhm.
they all add to the canon, the timeline before Phantom Menace, and we haven't had a lot of that in canon until the last 2 or 3 years. So now we're getting so much more richer content to fill in the backstory, the different factions, the feeling of everything. So it's good.
Yeah. Again, it's a testament to what Mark Russell did, writing these characters that we feel. Again, especially this Doctor. Yeah. I just think it might have been. It just the white and red really stands out to me. I don't know. So yeah, maybe I'd be curious to see in a normally colored comic, I should say, what this would be like. Be interesting. All right, we can move right along then. Finally, we made it. The one, Chris, you were waiting for, Jango Fett #3, written by Ethan Sachs, art by Luke Ross, colors by Nolan Woodard, cover by Lionel Francis Yu and Nolan Woodard. Django versus Aura Singh, the bounty hunt, the heavy. I can read words. The heavyweight bounty hunter battle that will shake the galaxy. Who is the mysterious figure behind the heist that is igniting a war? Prepare for a new twist when an unexpected alliance is revealed. Pinnacle of Jango Fitness. Go for it. And what do you think, Chris?
Yeah, I really like this one. I was shocked by a certain appearance of certain things going the way they did. Opens up such a great way. Just straight up space western. Jango Fett You just got the great artwork by Luke Ross framing, the sides of the hips, hands by the guns, like the classic Clint Eastwood type of stuff in like a dusty town, backwater planet. This is pinnacle bounty hunter stuff you want to see in Star Wars, right? So seeing Jango just easily take down these guys, but then seeing the events unfold, I mean, the big revelation for me was Nakano Lash, and I don't know why I didn't see it coming. I was completely floored by this. I said, "This is brilliant. Of course he would do this. Of course, Ethan Sachs would closely tie together his comic book runs. I mean, we already had the appearance of the guy that becomes a cyborg eventually in the Dark Droids.
Oh yeah,
That guy from the previous issue, or the issue, yeah, I think it was the previous issue he showed up in. And then you also have, I'm failing at remember these comic book character names this week. It's a terrible job, but we got that guy. But no, to kind of Lash, right? She was the big touchstone point for the first arc and a lot of the story in Bounty Hunters, 42 issues, Violent Valence, Tonga, her brother, Boss, they all had dealings with Nakano Lash as like their
Jango's
ringleader.
clone son.
Yeah. Yep. Everything goes back. So I really like to see all that. It was cool to finally get information about who this judicial like handler of Aurra Sing was. I was wondering what the heck is going on. Why does he want to kill Jango Fett? Why if the Republic already had him doing something, why would another Republic officer be doing something? It's like, what's going on here? So it seemed very interesting that we were able to see all that go through. But I did have an uneasy feeling reading the end of this saying, oh my gosh, there's literally only one issue left. Like I feel like we're just getting started. We're just getting this thing revved up and we're gonna have to have it concluded. I have no doubt that Ethan Sachs will pull it together, but I just want more of it. I've enjoyed it so much, and it's just like, oh man, this is already the penultimate issue. And next month it's over. So hey, what's not to say there won't be another mini series at some point down the line, or maybe a maxi series or something. But yeah, just a little feeling of uneasiness, I guess, at the end of this.
I mean, we know Ethan wants to write more. Wants to write more Jango. I think they should let him for sure. I mean, it's the era. We're exploring this era before Phantom Menace, and here's a story that's fitting, that works, that ultimately connects with the wider story, because he becomes the clone template, of course. Yeah, look up show the cover again. Show the cover again. So when I looked at this cover, when I read it, because I don't really pay attention to the solicits or whatever, because they're kind of spoilery, or the covers. Like, well, yeah, kind of bluish. That's the Nakano Lash. This is an Ethan Sachs book. That's got to be the Nakano Lash. Yeah, a great little tie-in. A very young, somewhat, not, I don't want to say naive, but at all, because she takes this gem that everyone's chasing after. It's the fake, but she breaks it because she says it's cursed, right? That her Naudilans and the Anselmi, they're fighting over this thing that's supposed to be a symbol of peace, but it's become a symbol of war. If you can contain peace through violence, then you have the upper hand. And yeah, it's and even getting that to that reflection in this book, yeah, just to see the origins of this character that has such an impact further down the line, again with all the characters you mentioned, especially including Boba Fett, right? And so that was exciting. The Aurra Sing double cross, I thought that was well done. I didn't expect it. I thought I couldn't see it coming. So to see her, really team up. Maybe they were already in cahoots, or I don't know. What do you think, Chris? Was this kind of a in the moment realizing her handler was working for someone else, and so she switches sides, or was she always with Jango throughout this? I don't know. What do you think?
I want to bring our attention to a reference that they said the last mission they were on was on Niamos. They did a job together.
Yeah.
And it seemed like that job went so well, like there was no violence, because then they're like, oh, well, I didn't think you could hit me that hard, or I didn't think you could kick me like that, or so. Like they were pretty much allies then.
Mhm.
So yeah, it's interesting. But we know like bounty hunters, right? They could be friends at one moment, enemies at another. That we have an entire 42 issue run of that happening with Ethan Sachs. So it's like, I think at the moment she just realized like, hey, this guy is really not who he's cracked up to be. Maybe he's working for Darth Tyrannus. That's my guess.
That would tie everything in, right? Yeah, they definitely have Django and Aura definitely have a rapport in those moments that you mentioned. So, maybe at least bringing out the rapport for the sake of saying, yeah, you're my ally now. I don't know. I do think there is loyalty. I mean, that's Tonga to a core. I mean, she wants to tap into the potential loyalty. She's loyal to her people in order for them to be loyal to her. Like you said, it doesn't work out that way. Bosk and them say, "Forget you. I'm just doing my thing." But yeah, it will an Aura Tonga being so loyal to Byler until the end, right? So maybe Aura and Django. I guess they seem a little bit more nefarious, but yeah, we got one issue left, and that's maybe. I will say, Nakano. She definitely sets up this last issue because the fake is broken. The uh the thing, the cards are moved out of the way. All the debris is moved out of the way, so that they can go straight to this character who actually has the jewel. Do we see at the end? And so, what he's interested in, what he cares about, yeah, it could be part of the Sith plot. Oh, it's not Darth Tyrannus yet, right? This is still before the Phantom Menace, right? He's still Valorum's still the Chancellor. So,
Oh yeah.
so it could be for Sidious, working for Sidious, trying to sow these seeds of Clone War, of separatism.
Yep.
We think of another water planet, Moncala, where those two species of Moncala and the Quarren are on different sides of the Clone War, and so they're fighting a civil war that's a proxy for the Clone War. Here it isn't a proxy for anything, but it's just another bit of dissension, division, conflict that Valorum isn't able to keep under wraps. He isn't able to resolve. And of course, having seen the Phantom Menace a month ago, knowing all the, and even having the Legends Darth Plagueis novel in mind, and E.K. Johnston's canon novel, and all that, that Palpatine's the one, trying to, killing Valorum by 1,000 pricks, and he does succeed, right? I'm not like he succeeds at killing his career at least. Yeah, it could be one of those, and again, I hope that's another reason why I hope the Marvel lets Ethan write this book, because and continue writing, because it would take like 42 issues to get us to where we get. I mean, I don't know how long it takes in the Legends story that I did read like 10 years ago, about Jango, about how the Sith end up picking Jango. But yeah, it takes a while. This, I think, could take about 42 issues, and of course it's number of views away. He's got to get on the radar. Yeah, the story itself,
I don't even know if it's a number of years away, man. I think that it's
maybe.
pretty close because they're already talking about Trade Federation conflict or something like that.
Yeah,
Or taxation. They already talked about the taxation in Naboo. So I'm like, huh.
That's right. So it's in and around just before. Yeah, okay, I can see that. I mean, yeah, they gotta start firing up the cloning on Kamino.
It depends, right? Like if we come back next week,
Yeah,
and we talk about a scene where Dooku basically goes, "Oh, you're going to Kamino to become a clone template after what you did." Then we're like, okay, there's no more story to tell.
yeah.
He's gonna be sitting there for the next 10 years, getting his DNA pricked, his blood pricked by the Kaminoans, and he's gonna be getting paid very nicely.
I mean, he does still go on missions.
He does, yeah. I mean, we see that in the Tales of Republic, like him and Boba are going around doing stuff. So
yeah. Age of Republic. Well, we see an Attack of the Clones, right? He's able to. He's Dooku's bodyguard or whatever.
Yep.
Geonosis. I mean, he's on Coruscant assassinating Padme.
True.
So, yeah, or being part of that, helping out with that. But yeah, but that's a good point. I mean, that's ultimately though with him being the clone template is where his story ends up. It's just that's the most significant thing he does in his life. So there's got to be more ground to cover until then for him to become the simple man trying to make his way in the galaxy. I don't know if he is at this time yet. I think he is trying to build his name up as a bounty hunter.
Yeah.
And it's when he's picked as the clone template that his name is built up.
Well, it's interesting because he even talks to those goons in the beginning. Like, he is shocked. He's like,
Yeah.
how are you going to talk to me like that, basically? Don't you know who I am? Like, he already has that persona where he's kind of, like, arrogant in a way where he's like, come on, you don't know that I'm the famous Jango Fett. Like, he is kind of full of himself already. So at this point, he thinks at least he has a good reputation. And why would the Republic already contact Jango Fett for like a mission that's this important? Because it's dealing with an actual full-scale conflict that could break out if Jango Fett does not resolve it as quickly as it can. And we even see that scene, which is interesting. Like, the Republic governor is trying to broker peace, and the peace talks just completely do not go well.
Yeah.
So we see how important like Jango Fett is. He's just not a run-of-the-mill bounty hunter at this point. He has gotten something.
He has. I just do wonder. Zabine needs to be a bit more grizzled. He seems seems a bit younger. Yeah, like I think an older Jango wouldn't need to go into the bar and be like, "Do you know who I am?" He would just do it, or even ignore them completely, right? So he still has that arrogance. He isn't like when he tells Obi-Wan, "I'm just a simple man trying to make my way in the universe." He actually believes it about himself at that point. It seems like he's serving his clients at that point. Because he's already done the most significant thing he's ever going to do, be the clone template and have a kid. That's a big deal to him too. So there you go. I don't know. Have we reached the pinnacle of Jango Fitness? I don't know yet, but hopefully. Also, just for selfish reasons, right? We want more story. We want more story.
Yeah.
I hope this issue 4 doesn't end that way.
I hope we get that thing that's been happening in almost every miniseries. The end ? Yeah. Just like Mace Windu.
Yeah, that kind of thing. So, and probably for a similar reason, right? To say, okay, Mark Burndown, write more stories if you want, or pitch us more stories. Again, we keep saying this. I keep saying this, and I said this 5 minutes ago. This is, this era before the Phantom Menace and around the Phantom Menace. 2024, it's the party, the 25-year party, but also, like, if this is what Joel and I said on Monday, or what I was saying on Monday. If in 2015 the time period they needed to explore to bring in the most eyeballs, most dollars, was from between A New Hope and Empire Strikes Back. Now that they've done that, and they aren't going to touch the sequel trilogy, or they aren't going to touch the Mandoverse, where's the most natural thing to get all the prequelists in, who now, have podcasts and have spending power and have careers and jobs, to explore this era more, fill it out. Adventures of Obi-Wan and Anakin as Star Wars number 1. That's what I want.
Ooh.
The day after the celebration on Naboo, what happens there? Just fit the pattern. It fits the pattern, but I don't know what you think about that.
Yeah. Let's see. Oh, we're gonna get the Mace Windu book that's gonna tell us that Glass Abyss.
Yeah.
Finally filling in the Delray gap that has been nagging me for the last 10 years.
Like the gap between A New Hope and Attack of the Clones.
Yes.
Yeah. We're gonna get more of that. That's true. I think, well, that's what I'm saying is, if Lucasfilm Publishing is just go in that direction, go full log in that era. We're all here for it.
We're all here for it.
Yeah. So, any last thoughts on Jango Fett number 3?
Nope.
Sometimes. All right. Well, we made it 55 minutes. There we go. A few Star Wars adjacent books. Both Charles Soule, Blighted Dozen number 6, and Undiscovered Country number 29. Undiscovered Country getting to an end. Bloody Dozen number 6. That's the end of that arc of the Shrouded College arc, and then they're gonna move on to another arc there. That one's fun. Pick that book up. I recommend it. All right, and releasing next week in Star Wars. Speaking of Charles Soule, quick turnaround. Ongoing number 47. We're hurtling towards the end here. It is another month. It is June, so that makes sense. And then of course High Republic number 8 by Kevin Scott. Of these two, what are you looking forward to in these ones?
Oh yeah, High Republic issue number 8. It's big turning point. We're gonna go after what is his name? Bulan, the guy that's orchestrating all the Nihil experimentation with cybernetics and all that kind of thing. Baron Bulan. So yeah, the guy that goes back all the way to the path of the open hand.
Yes.
Way back when into the phase 2 of the High Republic.
Was he around back then? Wasn't there?
Yeah, dude. They made a reference to him. They said that, like, a little young Ithori named Bulan.
All right.
Yeah, he's definitely name dropped a few times.
I gotta
there on Dalna.
I completely missed that.
Yeah, is that cool?
Yeah.
Yeah, and No, I'm pumped, man. We're getting a 2-week wait for Star Wars.
Yeah.
So that's where I'm so excited, because we're finally over the whole thing of Mon Mothma. I think, and I hope, that this is like the last part of the trial of Lando. It's got to be, because she's going to make the declaration saying, all right, you're free to go. And then we're going to get some big cliffhanger of like, oh, and they're attacking Tanab. We have to get the fleet to go to Tanab. And he's going to be like, I'll lead the charge. And that'll be how it ends. I'm calling it now.
Yeah. I mean, at least issue 50, but at least issue 50 will be the maneuver. But yeah, 48, 49. Sure. Why not? Let's go for it. This big climax, like I was saying, of if in the comics tell Lando Mon Mothma's story, so that the films can tell Luke, Han, and Leia's story.
And then eventually go back and have a novel that takes place in between Empire, Return of the Jedi, of Luke Skywalker doing some more cool stuff. Because I still feel like we needed more of him in this era, but that's okay.
We did. That's true. We didn't. We've gotten just enough.
Yeah.
To set up Return of the Jedi.
Yeah.
Especially that issue, was it 40, 43 around there? Where he goes, into, into the
crystal, basically, yeah.
The crystal, and then with Vader seeing kind of his confession in that confessional. I agree. Bulan's a big deal. I mean, if the Nameless are it for the Nihil, then Bulan is it for the Nihil.
Yeah.
Which is also interesting. What's his face? His kind of apprentice from Escape from Valo. The guy with
Niv Drendau.
Yeah, that guy. He's also a big deal because he's Nameless. So maybe that's kind of how Republic and High Republic Adventures will come together a little bit. Although that's more with Drigget, but and Lula, of course. Yeah, I don't know. What am I looking forward to more here? I don't know. I mean, I'm biased towards High Republic. It's High Republic. I don't know. They're great, but Bulan's a big deal. But so is Mon Mothma and Lando. So I don't know. It's a push. It's a push. I'm calling it a draw for me. But yeah, I know it's cheating. There we go. Yeah. So anyway, this was a great episode. Great conversations. Kind of went in different directions, which is good. Spurred on different conversations, but hey, why not? It's we got give us a lot to talk about.
4 issues, yeah.
4 issues for sure. Where can they find you on the internet?
Yeah, you can find me talking all about the Acolyte over on Twitter. There you go. Just search Star Raptor. We're getting bombarded like 2 or 3 videos a day with teasers for Acolyte. I'm eating it all up. I'm watching it all. Because as the High Republic fan of me, I'm going, oh, that's something I recognize, or oh, that's something that looks cool, right? So I'm getting really excited for that show, because it's just a lot of good buzz coming out of some things. I have some people that have seen it. So you can find me talking about the Acolyte, as well as posting ridiculous game clips, different things like that over there from different games I've been playing recently. So you can find me over there, also on youtube.com/StarRaptor. I'll be talking about these very comics and more on the weekly pod over on Sundays at 7 p.m. Outer Rim Transmission. Catch us live then. Thank you so much for another great episode, man.
Good. And Outer Rim Transmissions, that you're saying you went solo for 40 minutes about George Lucas on Sunday, right?
Oh yeah, no, it wasn't all about George Lucas. But yeah, I talked about Memorial Day weekend. My other guys couldn't make it because barbecues and stuff, especially in the United States, we're pretty big on that over here. But yeah, I was basically talking about George Lucas interview over at Cannes. He was talking about AI. He was talking about our Marvel movie cinema. Commenting on Mark Scorsese's comments. He was talking about different the movie industry not being as original as it used to be. A lot of sequels, a lot of prequels, a lot of franchises. They need to branch out more. So I was making comments based on his comments. And it's just good to see George out in public saying stuff again about anything, because it's always interesting to see his thoughts, because he's a genius, and it's interesting to see what all the current technology and things are going through with his own mind now that he doesn't have to worry about it.
That's true. Thank the maker for making prequels into mainquels. Breaking the mold with one trilogy and then doing it all over again with a whole other trilogy.
Yeah.
So yeah, that's what our friend Din says a lot, and he's right. So there you go. Check it out. Outer Rim Transmissions. You can follow again, like I said, follow me personally on Twitter, NEUG485. Probably talking about Star Trek. Oh yeah, the Discovery series finale is tomorrow. That's gonna be wild. And then a bunch about soccer, a bunch about different things. Probably a bit of Star Wars too. On Instagram, MNEUG1138. That's basically a foodie account, although that's changing soon. We gotta get into gear on that. ONPOD on Twitter, Instagram, and Threads. Mainly Twitter. Mainly Joel with the kind of thoughts and sharing around the community. This past Monday at 8:30 p.m. Eastern, 5:30 p.m. Pacific on Memorial Day. I completely forgot it was Memorial Day. I mentioned Victoria Day the week before. I did not get the day off on Monday, so that's why. On Memorial Day, we talked about 10 years of the canon. Great conversation, looking back and looking ahead a little bit. This coming Monday, we're diving in. This may be the last time I'll make this show. Full podcast area. We are acolyte all day, every day. Not all day. We're gonna have other things. We're gonna talk about other things too. But like today, I just saw one of the videos, that roundtable conversation with the different actors, and
just talk a little bit closer to the mic. I think it's not picking up as well.
The actors, the roundtable, and they showed some footage.
Yeah.
And I'm feeling it. This is Republic in live action.
Yeah.
The Space Wizard show in live action. We've never seen this before.
What I was thinking about that got me so excited earlier today is the fact that we potentially have our first Sith in live action since Revenge of the Sith with Sidious or something, right? Because Rogue One, Vader, we've already seen him. So that even had Maul, we've seen him before. And this is not no Inquisitor. I really feel like whoever this guy is with the Sith, that's a Sith. We're early enough that this could be a Sith.
Yeah.
And that just gets me so excited, just the mystery behind it all. And it's just so exciting to see this anticipation.
Yeah. I'm not holding my breath, but we'll see. All that to say, this Monday, 8:30 p.m. Eastern, 5:30 p.m. Pacific, right here on Star Wars Underworld YouTube channel and everywhere else you get your podcasts. We're going to be talking about final thoughts, final reflections, a bit more to say, I think, about light and dark and balance.
But then
Leslie Headland's comments, I'm going to just reflecting on that a little more. But final predictions about the Acolyte. And then every Monday we're gonna review the episode and comment on the episode, kind of like what we do here at Tractor Beam. Maybe even a little longer because it's just the one episode, more than what we used to do on Canon with the Eyes on Screen segment. So we'll do a full, maybe at least half hour, if not more, if not the full episode. See what happens there, because we're Eye on Canon, home for the High Republic. Here we are.
Yeah, and I'll probably have something to say on the show next week because we'll be literally hours after watching it.
Well,
So I'll
that's
probably just give my first impression, like, that was great. Yeah, woo.
yeah. So that we might end up doing that here on Tractor Beam, just for a little bit. You and I is on screen in Tractor Beam, and then the full hog on Iron Cannon and Outer Rim Transmissions. But yeah, looking forward to it. I'm so stoked. It's gonna be time. What a time to be a Star Wars fan. What a time to be a prequelist. What a time to be a High Republic fan. To see all this thing flourishing, coming together, and of course, Temptation of the Force coming out next week as well.
Wait, no, it isn't, is it? Or
In
is
2
it getting
weeks?
released earlier in Canada?
No, I guess it's in 2 weeks then.
Yeah.
In 2 weeks, yeah.
I see a lot of influencers are putting out posts on social media, but I think it's not out until the week after.
Yeah.
Good.
I finished Living Force, and I got to finish Defy the Storm. So
I was gonna say I'm already gonna be up to my head with games with Hunters and with Destiny 2's expansion coming out next Tuesday as well. So good. Give me a chance to breathe here on this is the embarrassment of riches right now. There's so many media coming out. It's hard to keep on top of it all.
Space Wizards. They're all Space Wizard shows, Space Wizard books. There you go. Including one next week, including a Space Wizard book next week. However, book number 8. Let me find that there. Go to your local comic book shop and you can find them on digital, but check out the brick and mortar comic book shop. Give these books a read. It's been fun. Being a good episode. Looking forward to we're less than a week away from the Acolyte. Still can't believe it. All right. Anyways, until then, happy reading and happy watching.